Hello again, my name is Ray, and I'm a librarian at the Volusia County Public Library, and we have another guest with us today. Anne, did you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So my name is Anne Kowalczk, and I'm the Interim Associate Director of the Master's Entry into Nursing Practice program at DePaul University. I'm a clinical assistant professor there, and I'm also a pediatric nurse.
So you work at DePaul University. What excites you the most about your work or field of study?
I think there's a lot of things that are really exciting and inspiring right now. So working with a lot of the faculty, I think a lot of us have come probably closer together than we've ever come before, just with changing things to being from thinking about going back to last year, around this time when in essentially a week, we went from having everything in person to everything being virtual. And so, of course, we had to work really, really closely together in order to make that happen for the students. So that it's really been inspiring to see how much everybody has put in, how much hard work everybody has done, and how much the students have really stepped up to make sure that they're on board with their learning, and they're able to facilitate and kind of move through things that they've never done before or expected to do in nursing school. And at the same time, a lot of the faculty and students as well are working in the field. So they're working frontline, they're seeing patients, they're seeing COVID patients. They're having experiences that are challenging. They're going through this pandemic together, and we're all sort of, we're in it. And so I think it's a time that's unique for us.
Very good. What's the one thing we should know about your area of expertise?
So I think the one thing to know about the area of expertise in nursing is that, and this may vary a little bit from what I had initially thought about, but as nurses, there are so much that we can do, and there's so much that we can sort of explore with everything that happens. And so administrative roles, people that are facilitating COVID vaccines, I mean, nurses are getting involved in things I think that they have never been involved in before. And so being able to kind of go through all of these different areas and see people taking on different roles has been a really exciting thing in terms of research, facilitation, project management, and all of these different areas on top of working and taking care of patients. That's something really unique about this field, and something we're seeing more of probably now than ever before.
I think everybody's taking on different roles that they hadn't experienced about a year ago. So it's
this is true. Yes, this is so it's something. Yeah, I think traditionally, I think people kind of thought of nurses though as being, nurses taking care of people, like nurses in the hospital, and kind of even thinking back to, when you think of the stereotype of a nurse, and even like, for example, we have male students, and sometimes you'll get a question about, I'm interested in being a student, but I'm a male student, or I would be a male student, and I'm, what is the perception of this, right? And so there's this perception sort of, I think for some people of nurses sort of working in a hospital, and maybe even the white hat, white suit kind of thing, kind of thinking back, but nurses wear all things, all kinds of hats, and, you can find nurses in the most surprising of places, I think sometimes now, more than ever.
Right. So what's the one book that's influenced you the most?
I would say Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell has been a book that has really inspired me, and I love that book, and I love Malcolm Gladwell. But that that particular book is really interesting, I think, because I'm thinking about outliers and thinking about people that have gotten to extraordinary places. There are circumstances that have allowed them to be there. So there's all of this combination of things that allows for people to be successful, right? And so there's maybe a set of circumstances, maybe a bit of precocity in someone's nature, and maybe just a part of someone who's willing to work harder than anybody else to put in an unstoppable amount of precedence to get what they want to where they need to be. The good old 10,000 hour rule of time to get you to where it takes to be an expert. So I think it's really unique to sort of think about that. And in terms of education and nursing and all of that too, I think it's very relevant. And often students or people will ask, what does it take to be successful or to get me where I need to be, or I don't feel like I'm going to get there. But looking at all of the different things that you can set yourself up for to have success, that book is inspiring.
So I think we'll ask you a bonus question as long as I've got you on the go-to meeting here.
Yeah.
You're working on your doctorate of nursing. And so what kind of research are you doing for that?
So for my doctor of nursing practice in FNP, I have 2 quarters left. So I'm very into my research right now. I'm like in it. And so attention deficit hyperactivity disorder has been sort of the focus of my research. And so my study right now is called the barriers to the timely diagnosis and treatment of attention deficit disorder in a primary care practice. And so I did a nationwide study, and I surveyed advanced nurse practitioners, advanced care practitioners about what types of barriers they see to treating ADHD patients. So ADHD is very, very near and dear to my heart. And that's an area where we don't have a lot of research as far as like what have been the barriers or why haven't people been treating in primary care. And of course, there are some providers that do, and then there are some that don't. And so it's recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics that they do treat in primary care. And so I'm going through my data analysis right now for my paper. And so I'm planning to publish that soon, and then I have some other data that I'm going to continue to use, and I plan to move forward with research after this. So I've got bitten by the bug of research, and so my hope is that the research becomes then a project in some primary care facilities that I can facilitate and see what we can do to remove some of those barriers.
Very interesting. Do you have any advice for anyone that wanted to get into perhaps the nursing field or practitioner field?
Absolutely. I mean, I think with thinking about getting into nursing on, kind of a first line level, thinking about high school students or people sort of as a first career, take those science classes, explore those science classes, talk to your own doctor, shadow a nurse maybe in your practice, talking to even friends or family members. I think most nurses are more than happy to share their experiences, share their knowledge. I'm going to have to edit that one out. But most people are more than happy to share their experience, share their knowledge, and being able to network with nurses to kind of see, is this really what I want to do? When I first started out, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to get into nursing or not, and I had already had a bachelor's degree and sort of I was in another career, but I decided, I want to see if this is something I really want to do. And so I got my CNA. I went and I got my certified nursing assistant license, and I started working as a CNA to see if it was really something that I wanted to do. And so that was helpful. Another thing that I did was I started volunteering at a hospital that I thought that I might want to work for after I decided for sure that I wanted to be a nurse. So, and I think, with nurses, you're always doing service, right? And so a lot of programs have a service learning component. Our program has a service learning component to it. And so having volunteer experience in turn does help your application as well. And helps you to get kind of your foot in the door while also giving back to your community and helping you figure out if this is what you want. And so I'd say volunteering, talking to nurses and making connections through family and friends to see, asking questions, and taking your science classes. Take your science classes and love your science classes so much.
Science and math, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule today to share with us.
Oh, I'm so happy to do it. So this has been great. So thank you for inviting me, and I'm always happy to talk about nursing and research all day long.